Uh, Good morning, everyone. My name is Tab Pierce, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer for the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. It's my pleasure to be here today, and I'd like to welcome you all to what I'm sure will be an engaging and insightful discussion. We're at an exciting crossroads where artificial intelligence is transforming industries across the board, and transportation is no exception. Today, we'll dive into the latest research in AI, explore practical applications, discuss challenges and lessons learned, and examine how AI is shaping the workforce and education in our sector. I'm thrilled to be joined by a group of experts who will help us navigate these topics and share their insight on how AI is driving the future of transportation. Before we get started with the discussion, I'd like to ask each of our panelists to briefly introduce themselves and share a bit about their background and expertise. Also, please note that we'll have a short time with audience participation and questions at the end, so feel free to jot down any questions you may have for our panel. With that, I'm going to ask Kartik if you'd go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, I'm Kartik Kotamsetti. I'm a customer engineer with Google Cloud based in Austin, supporting state of Oklahoma for the past 5 years. I have close to 15 years of experience supporting various state and local agencies on adopting cloud technologies, ensuring that they are secure, and so those are the areas of expertise that I've been focused on. Joni.
Oh, hold it down. Hold it down for a couple seconds.
Hold it down.
Yeah, so it turns on.
How about that? There we go. Joni Seymour, Chief Innovation Officer, Oklahoma Department of Transportation and Turnpike Authority. Prior to this role in 21, I was the Chief Information Officer for the Turnpike Authority. I've been in IT since early 90s, fell into it. I was on the business side and wanted to do more, knew that there was more that we could do. And so I started dabbling in IT, and here I am today. So as far as being an expert in AI, I don't think I would call myself that. Rapidly learning this technology, all of the different technologies, right? When we say AI, that is a vast amount of different things, right? And means different things to different people, and trying to rapidly learn how it is evolving every day.
Hand her the mic.
Hello. Speaking of technology, hi, I am Jessica Gatiff, Deputy Director of Data Services for the Office of Management and Enterprise Services. I lead data and AI for the state. I would also say that perhaps not an AI subject matter expert insofar as I've dabbled in data and AI for the last 15 years. I have a marketing background. So marketing, including data, machine learning, AI functionality for the last, let's call it 16 years, and have led data and AI for the state of Oklahoma for the last 2. It's great to be here. Thanks, everyone.
Dr. Chatterjee, will you introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. This is Ronnie Chaudhary. I'm a professor at Clemson University. I also direct the National Center for Transportation, Cybersecurity, and Resiliency, sponsored by the US DOT. And I have been working in transportation cyber-physical systems for many years, including cybersecurity of transportation systems and on a broader scale, infrastructure systems. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start us off with our first question. What are the most exciting AI research trends that could reshape the transportation industry? Kartik, would you like to start off on that one?
Yeah, sure, Tab. So one of the most exciting AI trends in the technology sectors is fundamentally with the autonomous vehicles. So as we can see, autonomous vehicles are driving significant adoption and increasing the market share day by day. So for the autonomous vehicles specifically, how AI is playing a very huge role in is there is vast amount of data that the AI models need. So for that, the autonomous vehicles are using sensors, different types of cameras, LiDAR, radar, and all these technologies. And all this data is essentially being processed using AI models built on convolutional neural networks that can help us classify and identify the objects in the environment and thereby predicting the distance to the nearby object and thus helping us create a 3D map of the environment that can help us use the autonomous vehicles with self-driving technology and whatnot. So those are one of the key areas where autonomous vehicles are playing a very huge role in. Another area where AI is playing a very huge role in is effective traffic flow management. By using the data that's been collected from the users as well as the data that's been collected from connected devices and whatnot, we are able to understand the efficient traffic flow management by suggesting the routes that can get the drivers faster to a destination. And another area that AI is playing a very huge role in is identifying the maintenance schedule for vehicles, thereby reducing the amount of breakdowns for vehicles. And the last and the most important area in is how we can optimize the entire transportation network by providing information on the transportation infrastructure and by using different types of sensors and cameras. Once the data has been captured, we are able to analyze all the data and understand where exactly we need to focus on in terms of like the bridges that need the immediate fixing or understanding where we need to efficiently create new roads. So those are some areas where AI is helping urban planners.
So you kind of mentioned AI looking at the cameras and things like that. So I was kind of wondering, how can we ensure that AI research for transportation prioritizes safety?
Yeah, that's a great point. So when we are collecting this vast amounts of data, one of the major concern is on the data security. So how resilient that entire system is. So for that, one of the key way that I've seen organizations solve the challenge is by ensuring that we use best practices like encrypting the data both in rest and in transit, and ensuring that we have strong access controls that would limit the amount of data that's been updated at any given point of time and who gets a chance to update the data. That's extremely important. And the last but not the least, one of the most important security measure that I've seen, LLMs, large language models, which have been the newest trend. So what we are doing is, so how do we ensure that the entire AI models that are being used are resilient to adversarial attacks? So that's extremely important. So we provide more training examples to the large language models on how to make sure that it understands when an adversarial attack is coming. So it does not even respond to those questions or the data is getting updated. So all that security best practices make sure that the AI adoption remains secure at all times.
That's good. It's one of the normal questions that we usually get is, we have a lot of data out there. How are we going to protect that data and make sure that the data is good and not being used in a manner that it shouldn't be used in? Okay, so I'm going to move into applied research and transportation, and I'm going to direct this at Joni. So what are we currently doing in transportation with applied research? Give us some real life examples.
Okay, So in transportation, we're actually doing quite a few things around AI. We form strategic partnerships with our friends at OMES and other third-party consultants. Google, their cloud platform, has been chosen as the state data standard. It has several tools that come along with it that we're able to leverage. And so early on, we decided to do our research via pilots, proof of concepts, right? And that's, that's what research is. Let's see if this will work. We have this idea, and I think it'll work, right? But let's prove it out. And so taking small data sets, right, eating the elephant one bite at a time, we've taken those pilots, and we have a handful under our belt now, and proved them out, and then shown them to senior and executive leadership to say, hey, we think this is great, right? What do you think? And thankfully, so far, everyone agrees. I think, we'll talk about this later. Dawn touched on it this morning. Our biggest challenge is workforce, right? And finding the people to actually finish building out these products, these learning models that we've discovered that we want to use. So we're working with our GIS division and our asset management and having it review images and flag those that the image doesn't look the same as the prior year that it was taken. So is there guardrail damage? Is there a sign? We're going to branch that out into other things related to pavement markings, et cetera, in the future. And if you can imagine the time savings and the ROI, not to eliminate people, right, but to leverage those talented, smart individuals to do more, right, with those data sets and the results that AI is bringing to us. Another area that we're looking at is we've done research on applying AI to the thousands and thousands of deeds that the department has, and taking that data off and making it more usable, searchable, findable, right? First internally before we open it up externally to save people's time moving forward.
Very good. I like how you pointed out that we're not really trying to replace people. We're trying to give them better tools to actually do their job. I think that is a question that usually comes up. People go, well, is it going to replace me? No, it's not going to replace you. We want to give you the ability to do your job better, quicker, get more return on our investment. So I think that's great. Let's see. What are the biggest challenges in applying AI research to real world transportation systems? What are we looking at? I'm leaving this open for the panel. Anybody that can answer this one?
Yeah, I can take that up. So in terms of how adopting AI is a challenge, so is that the question?
Yes.
Okay. So one thing that we have seen is every organization is trying to figure out how do I optimize the entire learning of AI, because there is always a new trend every other week. So that's the biggest challenge that even I face. So one way that I have kind of dealt with that challenge is I keep every week, probably half a day, just focused on learning the new trends that are happening in AI. And I do follow various thought leaders that provide various blog posts on what is happening, what are the latest new trends. And one key area where academia could play a very huge role in is understanding what are the new trends and designing the courses or workshops that can broadly help the entire industry on how to effectively adopt AI and what are the best use cases for AI. Is it an autonomous vehicles? If yes, how do I create the next generation sensors that can provide me more accurate information that will be very useful for self-driving technology? Or am I focused on efficient traffic flow management? If that's the case, how do I provide more effective data so that the AI model can provide the best and the fastest route for the user, so thereby understanding and recommending to the drivers on the fastest way to reach a destination? Or are we focused on making the roads much safer? So for that, we need historical weather data and even current weather conditions, and identifying conditions on the roads such as slippery roads, and thereby understanding different weather patterns like rain, snow, and fog. So based on these conditions, how do I analyze all these various different conditions and then create customized training plans? So these are various different factors that we are talking about. How do I understand all these different patterns or data points, and which AI model should I use? And what is the right AI model for the right type of data? So understanding that is extremely important, and then get started with AI. So for that, in Oklahoma, we have with Grow with Google program, AI Essentials course that can help you get started with AI. So once you get started, the next step would be understanding and learning the new types of AI technologies and methods that we could use. So for that, we have various different online courses that we would recommend getting started with. And then over a period of time, I think to Joni's point, one of the key way is get started with doing it. So there are like in whether any hyperscaler right now provides those technologies right now to use large language models. So using large language models and using the different types of data that is specific to your own organization, we are able to understand what is the right way to use AI, and making use of explainable AI. So we don't want an AI that is just making a decision. We just want to make sure that whatever the decisions that are derived out of the AI are transparent and easy to understand for any user. So that's the way I would recommend users to get started with.
Thank you very much. I'm going to,
I can add to it.
please do.
One thing is what is practical at different levels. If you want to use the latest AI tools, you need a lot of backgrounds, probably a degree on computer science, and then move forward from that, because these are very complex models to develop and maintain. But at a professional level, so like a DOT, if someone, a transportation engineer, and they want to work in AI, I would say that the most first useful tool would be large language models, because you can, as we were mentioning, that we are looking for sorting different deeds and stuff. But just what we have available, like ChatGPT or Google Gemini, by itself, it will not be very useful unless we customize those models for our application. For example, Oklahoma DOT can customize those large language models for their own use. So there are different tools available. So I see that DOTs first adopt those tools and see how they can customize those large language models. And then if they want to procure some systems that use AI analytics for image processing or sensor data processing, then they should have some capacity building courses. So there are different capacity building courses available online. So how you understand what's going on with the AI and what are the best applications of different AI tools. So when we need to, for example, when we need to use reinforcement learning versus just a regular classical AI model, like a neural network. So we need to understand those differences so that we can procure the particular software that can support that application. So that could be that just for a practitioner, I think we need capacity building courses.
Very good. I'm going to direct this at you guys on the other end. So what role do public and private partnerships play in implementing applied AI research in transportation systems? I think this kind of speaks to what you guys have said before, but also what Dawn mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so from a public and private perspective, I think there's so many synergies, right, that you can gain from whenever you look at private sector and how AI and emerging technologies are used in that space, there is putting on a business hat. I have two mics. Putting on a business hat, right? Whenever sitting in marketing, as an example, one-to-one marketing, all of your recommended for you in your Amazon feed, all of those pieces are parts of AI, right? So AI is a very broad swath of technologies, as Joni mentioned. And so whenever you look at it and you piece it apart, you can absolutely implement AI and machine learning technologies in the public sector. We've done that. We're doing predictive analytics. We're doing and understanding bridge maintenance and which bridges over the course of the next 10 years are going to need some focus. Same thing with pavement. You know, these are all functionalities and technologies that you can lift and shift into various sectors. And so it's really exciting to see the adoption of these tools with a really innovative team over here with Joni. But the net of all of this, it comes to how does this impact the citizens, right? And keeping roadways safe, making sure the bridge that you cross every day commuting to work is not, you know, in any kind of concern. And so that's where we really want to lean into is how is this benefiting citizens and how is this benefiting the state of Oklahoma? And again, those tools and technologies are really at the ready.
I don't have anything else to add. That was perfect.
Yeah, I thought that was very good too. I was kind of wondering if you could give kind of your view on how the data and AI is giving us data-driven decisions.
Sure. So I mentioned Google's cloud platform that we've adopted both at the state level and at the department and at the Turnpike. And at the department, we first took our first look at bridge data, as just mentioned, you know, looking at structurally deficient bridges, right, which is a safety concern of ours and one of our strategic initiatives. And it's phenomenal how, I mean, we do have tons of data, right? And I'm a huge data nerd, so I could geek out about it forever, so I'll try to keep it brief. But taking that data, and now we're moving into our digital delivery and BIM RIM and populating it with that data. We're on track to populate our collision data, which will be huge, not just for the department, but for highway safety, DPS, and health, et cetera. And just in a matter, literally, of minutes, we were able to write, I'm losing my train of thought. We were able to write a model that predicted what our structurally deficient bridges would be in '24. Like just asking, we know, right, because we're in '24, but we loaded all of our data from 1993 into the platform and ran the analysis on it. And in a matter of minutes, it told us exactly which ones were going to be structurally deficient, and it was 98% accurate. With no travel pattern data, no weather data, right? Just down and dirty, here's what it is. And it's so exciting. I mean, the technology is rapidly evolving, and we are strategically placed with Google at the table as they're developing these technologies. They're sharing them with us in a beta environment before others have access to them, which is incredible in the public sector, right? I've been in private before, right? So they're used to that, right? But we're not used to that in state government. And so it's very exciting. But being able to provide that data and serve it up to the executives to be able to make those decisions quicker is really what we're passionate about doing, and we're doing it.
It's really good to see us being at the forefront of that. Predictive analytics kind of destroyed one of my next questions, though. I just want to throw that out there. So my question was, How can AI be used to improve predictive analytics and decision makings in the transportation system? And what you gave an example of is a perfect example, because once the data is seen and you can compare and actually see how accurate that data is, it becomes a very powerful tool in our world to make data-driven decisions.
Absolutely.
I'm going to move on to use cases in transportation. I'm going to point this at Jessica. What are the most promising current applications of AI in the transportation section, and what impact are they having?
Let's talk about image recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the projects that Joni mentioned, we did a proof of concept supporting the agency. And Joni, poke holes in what I'm going to say, but when we're looking at these images that vehicles are going through and taking of roadways, so think of like a Google car going down the highway, and it's taking images of pictures of the roadways, guardrails, signage, pavement markings, etc. And then over the course of the year, we're looking at last year's images and comparing them to this year's images, okay? So it's literally humans sitting there looking at image one from this year. Okay, here's image one from last year. Are all of those components of the roadways the same year over year? Okay, now let's look at image two, right? And so it's really essentially comparing a tremendous amount of manual effort to compare these images, back and forth year over year. And so what my team did was mathematically identified all of the components within this roadway. So pavement markings, guardrails, signage, etc. And transparently, right, this was new to us. This was new to the Department of Transportation. And so it captured, I'm making this up, a billboard as an example as a signage. So there's some tuning that needs to happen in the model behind the scenes. But for the majority of the project, there was a tremendously high accuracy in comparing these year over year. And so what we were able to do is, again, instead of a human reading these, right, we're saying here are the changes mathematically, here are the changes associated with these images. And it could be, 1,000 that you would have to go and look at. And so we gave the deltas over to the ODOT team, said, go validate these, right? Because whatever you're using AI, you want to have that human in the loop component to validate and check and make sure for accuracy. It's just standard, right? You want to keep that in that process. And so instead of, again, hours and hours worth of effort for this manual project, we have the deltas of 1,000 as opposed to 10,000 images that these individuals at ODOT are looking at. What the one piece that we want to really highlight, and it's been said a couple of times already on this panel, is AI is not going to take people's jobs. These people are now pulled out of the weeds of this manual process, going and doing more awesome things, right? Strategic things, building out the next plan, looking at the next, section of roadway that we're going to evaluate. But what I will say as a recommendation to anybody in this room, get up to speed on AI, because people who have AI experience will likely replace jobs, right? And so just have that mindset as you're looking at this. And so I say all that to say that was one of the really cool projects that we did at ODOT.
That really was a great project.
It was fun.
Okay, so I'm going to move into security, because it's always a question on these panels. I'm going to direct this at Dr. Chowdhury. How can AI-driven transportation systems address cybersecurity threats, especially as we move towards more autonomous and connected vehicles?
Yes, we'll have more open surfaces for cyber attack. So AI can help in different ways. For example, attack detection. So you can have an AI model in an autonomous car. So it will look for any attack on its controller area network. It could be in a traffic signal controller. So it will look for, AI system will look for any abnormal data or any type of attack that are occurring on those systems. So AI can be used for detecting attacks. They're pretty good at it. So another side of this cybersecurity is the attack resiliency. Sometimes attack will happen on an autonomous car or a traffic signal controller or in a sensor. So if the attack happens, so we have to make sure that the system is not broken down. The system is not down because of the attack. So we make the AI model so resilient that no matter what attack happens, if it is something is running on AI, the sensing or prediction, so the AI model will not be going down. So we call it adversarial attack resilience. So AI can work towards making our system more resilient. And another important point is adaptive security. So sometimes we say, okay, there will be a denial of service attack, there will be the deep fake attack. We cannot predict like this will be the attack that will be coming to our system. So there could be a lot of unknown attacks that will happen as people are getting smarter. We have more computing power, and the attackers are also getting very smart. So they're coming up with new types of attacks every day. So with the AI system, it can adapt. So no matter whatever attacks happen, the AI system will be adapt to the new attacks. So that's a major advantage of AI, that it can be attacked. So with the adversarial neural network, so we can work on system that is adaptive to any types of new attacks that can happen. And we don't know about it yet, but it's ready to protect against such unknown attack.
Yeah, so one of the things that people ask me sometimes is, how do we defend against AI attacks?
Yes.
And the answer is AI. We use AI
yes.
to defend
So that's
ourselves
very
as
good.
well.
It's AI. The answer is AI. The problem is the answer too.
Yeah, it's exactly. Okay. So I want to talk about lessons learned and failures in what we've done. So I know Jessica can answer this one. So can you share a time when AI-driven transportation solutions didn't meet expectations, and what lessons did we learn?
Absolutely. So again, another project that Joni mentioned was the deeds. So we use OCR to evaluate a handful of deeds. You know, we're talking deeds from the early 1920s where they're sitting in a file cabinet somewhere. So we're digitizing these deeds and then using OCR to read the information on the deeds. One of the really interesting learnings that came out of that project is, number one, automation is really cool, right? And then number two, understanding, you know, we're looking at a deed, plot of land, and there are, you know, coordinates of this plot of land. I'm not explaining this to y'all are know what I'm saying. So the interesting thing about the AI is if there was a curve associated with this plot of land, and we have to really train the model in the background to understand a curve versus, you know, a 90-degree angle or something of that nature. And so the model failed every time there was a curve, but it was 98% accurate whenever it was a 90-degree angle. And so it was really interesting to see, okay, we need more deeds that have curves, so that way the model in the background can understand and learn more about those particular types of navigation components associated with that deed. And so really interesting learning, and sometimes having a failure is not necessarily a bad thing whenever it comes to these technologies. Again, going back to human in the loop, validate what you're doing, but it gives us a really good opportunity to refine the process. And so that way, whenever it does go fully automated, we can trust that, you know, the data that's being input versus what's being output is going to be accurate.
Can you speak a little about the lessons we learned on the asset management piece and the images of the roadway and I think it was the bounding boxes versus polygons, right? Another lesson learned, not a failure, but we learned a lesson, and how as we implement this, you know, across our entire network, we know that we now need to update the model. And so can you speak to that a little?
I'm happy to. So whenever we initially did the image recognition project, right, with the images and comparing them year over year, we used a bounding box as opposed to directly mapping out very closely to the specific item within that image. And so think of it like, right, there's a circle around this signage or a circle around this guardrail. Now we're modifying with those images and how we articulate the specific roadway component to where it shrinks the size and it's essentially an outline of that specific roadway feature. And so that's going to, again, drive a tremendous amount of accuracy whenever we're looking at, oh wait, no, that is a guardrail, or that's not a light fixture, that's a billboard. And so that level of change to the model and refining the model and how we're inputting that data is going to, again, increase accuracy, go through the automation process, and then, you know, we have that as a standard as we move forward.
Very good. I'm going to move on to workforce and AI for transportation because this is very important. We've kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want to dig deeper into it because it is so important that we have a workforce. So how is AI reshaping the workforce and transportation industry, and what skills are becoming more critical? I'm hoping you can dig a little bit deeper into those skills and tell us more what maybe people should focus on.
So working in the data space, I have been interviewing for very specific positions for about 6 months now. I have a data engineer 3 position open on Joni's team, and I've been interviewing for easily 3 to 4 months for that position. Data science is a really key component of AI and how we move forward. Having somebody, you know, in a leadership role that has a level of subject matter expertise in that space is critical. What we don't talk a lot about right now is prompt engineering. And whenever we talk through generative AI, we haven't chatted a lot about generative AI up here, but a lot of what we're doing from a generative AI space, especially whenever we're playing in ChatGPT Enterprise right now, is prompt engineering. And so we can build custom GPTs that essentially are the rules of the game of how you're going to use this, you know, specific GPT. And essentially what you're doing in the background is saying, hey, here are all the rules, here are the documents that you're referring to, but all of those rules are prompt engineering. Anytime you go to ChatGPT today and ask a question, right, you know, what is my, you know, color scheme for the season? Just real high level. That's a prompt, right? And the way you phrase that prompt is going to directly impact the output that comes back. So with that in mind, whenever we're doing something as critical as supporting transportation initiatives, having somebody who's a prompt engineer who can go in and say, the guys pulled together some code the other day, and it was lines and lines and lines of prompt engineering. It is incredible the amount of work that goes into that. And so understanding and upskilling in that space, Kartik mentioned the AI Essentials courses from Google. Those are critical components to how you leverage these tools and technology moving forward. So data engineering, get your data right, data governance, data science, AI engineers, and then prompt engineers.
Yes. So workforce development, one of the things that we're looking at, and I want Jess to share her story in a moment about the interns that we had on that first pilot that we did and how she approached that. We've decided, because it's very difficult to find these people that have this knowledge and pay as a government salary. I'm just going to say it out loud, right? We're here because we love transportation. So we want to build an AI intern pipeline, and we want to get our hooks in you extremely smart, intelligent students early so that you can see how exciting transportation is and how much fun it is. And we want to keep you as long as we can, you know, and whether that's a year or 2 out of college before you spread your wings and go off to do something else, we're realistic. We understand that, right? But we want to have this pipeline that we're just continually feeding and have these key positions in place to oversee and help with career development for these interns so that we can do all of these fabulous things in transportation around AI that we all think we can do, right? We have our parking lot of initiatives that we're just chomping at the bit to get people in to help us. But I want Jessica to share that first pilot that we did. She brought in interns and had them all work on the same thing. And so I'd like her to share that because I especially thought that that was unique and gave those students such an opportunity, and how it ended up was especially exciting for me.
Yeah, it is really exciting. So one of our interns who is now an FTE on my team, we were exploring the possibility of doing this image recognition project. And so we tossed the ball over to Sporty and said, hey, see what you can do with this from an AI perspective, see what image recognition looks like. She's straight out of college. I think she was in school at the time. And she was doing, her 20 hours at OMES and then her school, she was getting her master's. And she pulled it together within weeks of getting this initiative. She partnered alongside a couple of my data scientists, one of whom is now a manager on my team. There's so much opportunity whenever it comes to this space to showcase your skill sets, get your foot in the door, make a real impact on projects and initiatives across the state. And then, Sporty was able to transition into an FTE, so she's one of my data scientists now. And so it just, to your point around a pipeline and career development, Sporty may or may not stay at the state for the next 10 to 15 years, but she has that ability and skill set to say, I've done these XYZ projects alongside the Department of Transportation. It's made this impact to the state and to the citizens. And so it's just a really good opportunity. And, we have an incredible champion over at ODOT who's saying, hey, we want to do this as a pipeline and get those interns into the fold so that they can get the experience, and then maybe we can capture them and keep them as FTEs. So really great opportunities, and again, appreciate the partnership, Joni.
It's a great story, and I love hearing it, no matter how many times I hear it. It's amazing to work at transportation and the technology that's coming into play. I never thought that I would see anything like this when I started working for transportation, but it's amazing, and I love seeing it. We have about 15 minutes left, and what we would like to do is open it up to the floor. If anybody has any questions that they would like to ask, we're going to allow you to come up to the front where the microphones are and ask our panelists anything that you would like.
If you raise your hand, I'll bring the microphone to you.
Yeah, or I'll do that too.
Constantine Taraune, and I have been a part of several conferences recently, and the main question that always comes up, right? We have this technology, AI, new sensors, and a lot of the questions that come out is, for example, labor, unions. They're afraid that, and you kind of touched on that, is that this AI, these sensors are gonna replace them, right? So if you put in these fancy sensors that can tell you right now why do you need them, and I don't think that's true. The point of improving and putting sensors and AI is to make their jobs, more optimized. But I don't think they're getting that, right? Because I think there is some kind of maybe transparency, or it's not being. So what do we do to try and tell the people who are on the front lines that, hey, we're not trying to replace you, we're trying to make your lives easier? Because that is a fear. I see it when talking to labor unions, when talking to people who work on the rail yards. They feel that their jobs are in jeopardy. And is it us not communicating that, or why is that fear always present?
I can just take this initiate the response. So I think that there are a lot of stuff we need to communicate with outreach, with the employees and everyone, the public too, there are a lot of studies that will tell you that AI will not replace our jobs. So if you can communicate those studies with data and conclusions, I think will be okay.
One thing that I would like to add to that is providing the employees with the tools that are specific to their jobs that they can use. Getting started with like Google Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude. So there are like a lot of LLMs that they can start using today. And once we give them access to the tools, training them on how they can use it for their jobs. How can I make sure that I can use the AI in the right way, and how do I drive more productivity and more efficiency in my job? So as long as we keep that messaging back to the employees, we have seen significant progress. As an example, I have no degree in machine learning, but the reason why I am able to learn about machine learning and getting trained on it and able to speak in such conferences is the learning that I was able to get from Google. So similarly, each organization need to focus on that upskilling aspect of it that are specifically catered to each individual employee, and providing them all the resources, tools, trainings, workshops. That hands-on experience will ensure that all that concerns that they have would pretty much go away. And one other thing that I would like to emphasize here is the amount of the AI is good only based on the amount of data that it has. So for creating high quality data, it is very time consuming and expensive. So that is where the employees can significantly contribute towards creating that large language model that is specific to that organization, so to drive more efficiency.
I think it's important too to note that we have to find the champions in each industry that will be brave enough to do it and can then demonstrate and show. Because a lot of these people that we're seeing on TV and hearing about, they don't trust anyone that's telling them. There is no relationship. If it is, it's bad, and there's no trust, right? So we have to find the champions, which is what I feel we've done in the state. The governor wants us to be top 10 in all things. I want us to be in the top 10 for all DOTs and what we're doing with AI in the nation. And I feel that we are on the trajectory for that, and we're able to talk to our peers and show them, right? We can meet them at the table where they are and talk through it, and then it's not as scary to their staff and to the other people when they can speak to someone across the table that does the same thing that they do and has the experience with AI, and it's a positive experience.
Nils Gransberg and Associates, thank you so much for the excellent panel. I have a couple questions, but I'll just ask one here. Specifically, are there any mechanisms in place or are planned for industry to pitch ideas for new applications for AI technology for ODOT, be that for long-range planning, cost estimating, or anything else?
I would say sure. We do have a 3-year data and emerging technology roadmap that we created. We are, it's a parallel track of bringing on those new technologies and then replacing all the legacy, right? So we have to prioritize all of that in tandem. We want to do it all, but strategically we have to say what do we need to do first. So working with senior leadership and saying, where is this at on your roadmap? Because absolutely, we want the latest and greatest. We want to modernize all of the tools in our toolbox that we're using in transportation. Everyone, if you're in transportation or you know someone in transportation, we work hard and we have a lot of work to do, and there are not enough hours in the day to do it, whether you're in the field or you're an engineer or wherever you are, you know that. And so we need to embrace these technologies and these opportunities and leverage them so that we get the most benefit.
So to be fair, we also have some people online that are asking questions. So at least take one question from online. Could you please speak up? Yeah, please ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Zaman. My question is not exactly related to this panel, but we can't see the audience or the panel there in Oklahoma. Is there a way to do it? The speaker in Oklahoma?
I don't know if I can answer that question.
Dr. Molina is coming to save you.
Yes, thank you. I can answer that question. The view on Dr. Chowdhury is for our in-person guest benefit, so he appears on the monitors. We're going to switch to panel view after this session.
Great, thank you.
So any question or just from the audience? I'm pretty sure there are questions from the audience. I have a question, but I would like to be the last. Anyone from the audience that you want to ask
Yes, sir.
question to
I
our
have a
panel? Yes,
question.
please.
So good morning, and thank you for your panel discussion. My name is Amr Zaik from the University of Oklahoma. My question is about the huge number of applications of AI in transportation. So every time I do small research, I can find a lot of systems developed everywhere. And I'm scary that whether all these systems are interoperable together. And can we come to a point to run all these systems in one platform and get a benefit from each system alone and integrate all of them together? So do you think that we have the ability to operate all these systems together?
Yeah, so definitely that's a great thought that you have. But obviously the key problem right now is AI is currently in the evolution phase. So there is always a net new technology that is coming up. So one key thing that the entire industry overall is focusing on is the interoperability between all these technologies, and how do we align with the same set of standards when adopting with new AI technologies. So that is when the thought leadership and the vision of the organization comes into play. As a classic example, when Joni and Jessica started adopting this AI technology, no, we didn't have any standards, but that's when I think having that ultimate vision and what are the key use cases that we need to address to, identifying that, and then we kind of like create a framework that ensures that it will drive the interoperability, not just with the new technology, because we have a lot of like legacy systems as well that we need to keep intact. So making sure that the entire industry is focusing on it. So we don't have all the answers right now because it's still in the evolution phase, but that is something that the entire industry overall is focusing on. But I would foresee that in the next year to 2 years, I think we will have a same set of like standards that every organization need to follow when adopting this AI best practices.
So I also have a question for Dr. Chowdhury from the university side. You know, you talked about, for example, the need people who are trained in data science. And right now, actually, I'm a civil engineer and looking at from the engineering curriculum. So how do we actually do this so that students are really trained?
Yes.
So and when I talk to you, Dr. Chowdhury, I have difficulty in seeing whether you got your degree in civil engineering or computer science. I get a little confused. And also, Karthik, I think you mentioned that you are able to actually train yourself, right? So any thought that we could benefit from, Dr. Chowdhury?
Dr. Zaman, a wonderful question, a very useful question. So yeah, I'm always thinking about that problem. So we should have, for example, in civil engineering, we should have a required class, at least 1 or 2 on AI. If you are trying to self-learning, if you're working for DOT and you're busy with your work, and in addition to that, you have to learn some AI tools. Sometimes that is not very practical. So you have to have some education on it. So it could be at the high school level and also at the university level. So you should have some, like you have required math classes, so you should have required AI classes in the undergraduate level as well as in the high school level. So that would help. And also, like if you are already graduated and you didn't have any AI courses, so then you have to give your employees, if you're a state DOT or any other agency, you have to give the employees some time to learn the AI tools. So there are a lot of online courses available, from introduction to AI to the different models like CNN and other advanced neural network model, quantum AI. So there are a lot of courses available online that you can take advantage of, but you should get some opportunity to do so. So for example, if you're Oklahoma DOT, you should give that person a couple of months to learn that tool and then apply. So at the high school level, at the university level, I'm a big proponent of making, like in Oklahoma, do you have AI as a required class in civil engineering? Undergraduate.
So only in computer science, but not in civil engineering, right? So
No, you have to have it in civil engineering, because AI is not now computer science or electrical or civil. It's for everyone. So
yes,
you have to have an AI course in civil engineering
absolutely.
program.
So I want to also ask maybe Dawn and Anthony, because it is we talked about the students who are participating in the design squad, right? And you increase the number from 10 to 20 at each of these two universities. Dawn, is it possible that maybe some of these students who are actually doing their getting training, right? Could they be also take this opportunity to be trained in AI or not? I think that might be something to think about. Any initial reaction, Dawn?
I want to say that about 10 years ago, we were asked, what are the workforce challenges? And I remember having a conversation with you about, we need the data science skills in our civil engineering. And that's evolved now. And it's bigger than data science now. It's the AI tools. I absolutely believe it's going to be required for the future success of our program. And he's not wrong. I think it's applicable in across our society in all tours. So I would love to see that. And I'm attending a Board of Advisors meeting tomorrow, and Thursday, and I'll raise that issue for the curriculum. Thank you.
Yeah, we are doing the same at Clemson. We want to add an AI class in the undergraduate level. So.
Okay.
So Anthony has something to say also.
Thank you, Dr. Zaman. With the current curriculum that we're teaching our squads at the universities, by the time we teach them how to read a set of plans, draw a curve, all those intricacies that go into design, I wonder if there will be enough time to include some type of AI class, right? We're getting students, going into their junior year, so they've got 2-3 years left of school. Again, we're trying to teach some of those core disciplines of how to design roads and bridges. So introducing AI as a class and training them within our squads would be another challenge for us. Not against it, it'd just be something that'd be difficult to figure out.
Okay, we have time for one last question.
Tab, can I add one more thing?
Oh, you
Sorry.
may. Go ahead.
So Dr. Zaman, one more thing. Jessica brought up prompt engineering as a skill set, which I appreciate so much. Along with the data scientists, the data engineers that we need business intelligence analysts. It does us no good to do something with the data if we don't know how to present it to the business, right? And that's its own skill set of understanding, the high level, being able to do deep dives and provide meaningful data for the business to be able to make decisions off of.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, last question.
As far as transportation infrastructure, we know when bridges are not doing good. We know when rail is not doing good, just driving by it. How has AI been able to have us use our money more wisely, more efficiently? Because there's not more money at the end of the day if we know there's more bridges that are damaged or something like that. So if you have any examples that ODOT has done.
I don't know that I can pinpoint specific examples for you, but that's a really good question. And what I will say is I don't know that we're there yet. I say that because we're working through understanding the tools and technology. The proof of concept that we did around the bridges specifically was just that. It was a proof of concept, validate the tools and technology, and then you get this really awesome output from that. Now, how do we grow and scale? That is absolutely phase 2 and the next step of what we're doing. What I'll also say is, from a data insights perspective, there may be more to the story than what is visually and out there. So the lack of data, the data that we have on file, all of that tells a story. So in the future, I do anticipate there being the opportunity to not necessarily get more funding, but more so prioritize funding where it's needed most. And I think that's one of the true benefits of AI, specifically around infrastructure and how we're able to bridge that gap.
Can I add something here? So many states are using the structural health monitoring with sensing and with AI. So you can see what's going on in real time with a bridge or a tunnel. So we have used it here too. So those are very good application, structural health monitoring.
Okay, so it looks like we're out of time for today. I want to thank our panelists for sharing their expertise and insight. And thank you all for your thoughtful participation in the questions that were given from the audience. As we've heard today, AI is already making significant impacts in the transportation industry, and it'll continue to shape the future in ways we're just beginning to explore. I hope today's discussion has given you a lot to think about as you leave here and take new ideas back with you and go from there. Thanks again to our panelists. Everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.